Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Grand Arena for the alt account. All 3 rounds of the last week of Season 29. Began the week at Bronzium 3. We're going to jump around with that throughout the week. Starting off with where the roster stands. Again, what I'm doing with this account is it's being built for testing. So we're limiting ourselves with Gear 12 and Gear 11. Showing how quickly we can build a large amount of squads, especially as my main account can no longer continue to showcase how well some of these squads function at low levels. Looking at my opponent, 5 million GP, looking at 10 relics, weird relics, Hera, and you see in his Gear 12 a number of interesting choices. That even a Gear 11 Mob Enforcer. Jump the gun a little bit with that one. I'm sure that will not be as bad soon enough with Jabba. Looking at the defenses, it has changed a little bit at the start of the week. So Padme has moved to the front wall. Ewoks are now gone. Geos and Darth Revan is standard. And then on the back wall, one change is Newt is the new team there. Back wall is Rebel Fleet as always. My opponent running CLS Aura Singh with a Zam Omicron. And then down below we are looking at Django and JTR with a Chewbacca. We're going to start off with Django as I recall. I'm going to jump ahead. I deliberate for a while. So after considering Sith and Separatists, I decide to go with Palpatine. Let me jump to the large screen. The thinking here was that I would be able to get ahead of them, control the board, do the damage, and at Gear 12 we would have been able to work with it, but this turns out to be a miscalculation. And this is a solid squad. The Zeta on Django is the Zinga lead is definitely helping. So we decided to go back in and just use a big gun up against it. It's too good of a squad to risk losing another pretty decent squad for countering. So we bring in CLS and we don't mess around. Just controlling the board, managing the turn meter, trying to spread stuns around. We'll pull turn meter from Boba Fett. Use Han's basic to pull some more turn meter back. And then handle Mando pretty quick. So quick work, probably what I should have done to start, but I thought my Palpatine would have been able to handle it, especially with Mara Jade. With JTR here, not the best of JTR squads, but it's still a triple Zeta JTR. But guard will probably be on R2. Do I need to jump ahead? How long do I take to make a decision here? Alright, we're going to go with Traya. This Traya squad only has one Zeta. It's the leadership Zeta, so we're not going to be dispelling any debuffs. But it's still a good squad. That leadership Zeta is the most important, but she's really worthy of both those Zetas pretty early. You can see that these characters don't really function as intended. This team is struggling much more than it otherwise would. getting to Annihilate's taking a lot longer. But it all still works out. We lose Treya though. Get to Held by Hatred. And from here, it's going to be fine, but... That's why synergistic squads are important. Even when they're not functioning at optimal levels. That Yoda team is probably the best remaining or second best remaining. But there is still CLS and that Zam Omicron to deal with. This was a mistake, just clicking really quick. Clicking quickly and not paying attention, Jolie looked like Bosk. I didn't catch the mistake quickly enough. Fortunately, it's not going to matter. And that taunt actually proves to be a little useful. But things work a little slower. Now the Farm Boy Luke here is a little interesting. Definitely not the optimal choice, but it's all for fun. I made a bunch of strange decisions on my main account when I was first playing. Like I put a lot of resources into I'm Gonna Die because back when I started is when CG still gave away free Bronzium pulls, and the character I got out of that was I'm Gonna Die. They stopped doing that because players started creating new accounts over and over again trying to get Baze Melbis as their free Bronzium, and we can't have anything nice, so that ended. Those things aren't really all that important anymore though with these shard economy changes. Now with Zam here, I think I was just checking the speeds really quick. But there's not really any scary damage dealers. There's really the only thing that's going to be annoying is the stealth and the recovery that we have to deal with. But I go with Malik. Idea here being that fear is going to mitigate a lot of the threat from the Zam Omicron. Talon is, I'm just hoping we get a little bit of boost. Sith Trooper was there for a distraction. He did his job. But I really want to focus down on Zam. Malik was a character where I tried to see if we could get away without any Zetas, but I very quickly started adding one Zeta and then his second, because for him to really function as intended, how you expect him to, he needs both. Mine's 5 stars. If he was at higher stars, this wouldn't even be a question. You can see this gets a little scary in a couple spots, but once Zam is gone, it'll fall apart, because a lot of the bonuses from the Omicron are eliminated when Zam is removed. Yeah, grief takes a while because of his recovery, but we eventually get through it. So Yoda's the next big threat. There is going to be some annoying synergy between Isolate and Fracture, and that droid team shouldn't be too much of a problem. But we are past some of the big guns. This would be a weird choice. I don't think I make it. Alright. So gear 8 on both BB-8 and R2 is not the greatest, and BB-8 doesn't have the Zeta. That's a pretty important Zeta, and he does not function the way that you would want him to. Having that assist all the time is really powerful and is part of what makes JTR a good character. It's definitely hampered by not having it. Resistance heroes I considered, but they really need to be like gear 11 minimum. They're so fragile that it doesn't take much to take them out. Yeah, and you can see the lack of that second hit. Very quickly lose our boy. And it just falls apart. They have way too much control, and we did not have enough firepower. I'm looking forward to Ben Solo on the main account, though, to boost up my JTR. The JTR is a good character, it's just she hasn't been revisited by CG like a lot of other teams have. I think she's very undervalued. Not that that is a good showcase of what she's capable of. Bad Batch, though, they're great. These are just gear 8 characters. I have them farmed to, I think, 6 stars each. I'll put the Zeta on Echo pretty soon, I imagine. That's the most important one. T3M4 is the issue here. T3M4 is a good character. With the combat logic upgrade Zeta, I think the way it works is the more debuffs that are on my characters, the more damage the droids are going to be doing. You can see how much we're missing the passive damage from Echo Zeta. But we're prioritizing taking out T3M4 just because he's a good character. This team would have been so much more annoying to deal with had they used L3 as their tank. Because I imagine Clone Wars Chewie's here to give a tank to protect some of these characters. But with L3, you've got that passive taunt. Got that dispel. Every time you hit L3, she dispels debuffs on a random ally. Like with L3 here, I don't know if my Bad Batch would have been enough. As you can see, by losing that Palpatine team, we've really restricted our options. But I realized I could put together a version of a Jedi team with Bastila, Jolie, Ahsoka. Ahsoka is because she can ignore foresight. And with Bastila and the protection up, we're going to be able to absorb a lot of the damage. I think there's both Zetas on Yoda. I don't remember what the Yoda lead Zeta does specifically, but it's not a bad one. Like, we would all talk a lot more about it if Bastila Shan wasn't released. Like, it was like 2 weeks. What's going on here? Alright, so weird little lag thing going on. If the Bastila Shan wasn't released like 2 weeks after Yoda, like, that would have been a far more universal Zeta. See, Hermit Yoda is complicating everything that I want to do. And now things are scary. We got healing immunity. So we survive what could have been a disaster. We have to focus on Anakin because we don't want to trigger his AoE or his bonus turn. Now without him gone, we can just focus. See how many times we had to bring back characters with Jolie. And we fight our way through. I imagine I use troopers. They're my next strongest squad that I have remaining. Yeah. Dark Trooper needs to be a little higher gear. And that Zeta on Dark Trooper, I think it's much more important at lower gear levels because you're much more liable to go through those stacks at lower gear levels. Like some of these Relic Dark Troopers, it doesn't become all that relevant. But these lower gear ones, even on my main account, it comes up enough where it's worthy. And this is straightforward. With fleet, most players don't have two strong fleets. It makes it one of the strongest advantages you can have on any account. Is building out that fleet depth quickly. And with the alt account now, I have both Finalizer and Radis unlocked. They're not at a point where I can farm them to additional stars, but I do have them unlocked, which is... The idea is they take so long to farm that you want to start that clock sooner than later. Here we go, let's do week 2. Round 2, so we start off with a win. Take a quick look at how my opponent did. He just did a single battle. He didn't do a single battle, he did a couple battles, but it was clear, I think, that he wasn't going to win, so he gave up. He had 5 relics, though. He could have done more if he was a little more interested. This opponent's 2.6, 2.7 million GP, only 4 relics. Pretty deep, fairly shallow roster. Did not go down too many rows. Looks like he's going that SLKR rush route. We got Phasma, there is an Omicron there. Crew. And down below we are looking at Geos and Bosk. But lesser gear on those other characters. We'll go to jump to the big screen. This will be quick work. This is the counter that I've been working with and running. Mara Jade just makes this a whole lot nicer in 3v3. Obviously with Relic Vader would be nothing, but at this level it's a little bit more wonky. I don't want to take any chances and risk removing some of those debuffs early. Because I don't want to be wrong and then Brood Alpha heal up. I miss the no escape Zeta a little bit, but it's not the biggest deal. This bounty hunter team's not going to be much of a threat. I'm definitely not going to want to bring something too good up against it. Do I really just go with troopers? Looks like I'm second guessing myself. Yeah, because I need to think through how to get through these squads. Okay. Yeah, the reason I'm going with CLS here is because we can just jump out ahead of the Omicron, and it's because CLS isn't going to be useful up against Kylo Ren Unmasked. And we know anything on his back wall is not going to be better than the two teams in this territory. Because with Kylo's lead Zeta, we'll just get into a situation where we time out. But I don't remember exactly what I did, but I imagine I two-shot that Kylo Ren team. Okay. I don't know why I brought in Scion. Like, I didn't need really much more than Malik. Maybe this was one of those misclicks I do from time to time. I'm sure it was a misclick, because it really makes no sense. I make a much higher proportion of misclicks on the alt account. I'm kind of playing a little mindlessly. Are they gonna do it? No. Yeah, we're just going to stay focused on Cad Bane as much as we can. Looks like we're doing a good amount of damage to Bosk anyway. I'm wondering if I even have both the Zetas on Bosk on my main account. Probably do. I can't believe they got through Scion. Let's check out this back wall. It can't be much. We saw how shallow his roster was. He does have more first order though. They're good characters. Actually, that's a very strong back wall. We will have to be careful, especially that Hux squad. But we're not outspeeding it really. Alright. Now working on hooks. We're almost out of stacks though. And that's what I was talking about a few moments ago, where being able to add stacks on a lower gear Dark Trooper is very valuable. Now I know what I want to do is to take out Officer and Kylo and then clean it up with Traya or Mando to take out Kylo Ren, but I don't remember what I used to take out the first port. Is that what I do? Because I don't want to be wrong. Yeah. And that's why I go with Jedi. I don't want to run the risk. This I know will take out Officer and Kylo. Officer's the engine, so I'm staying focused on him. And there we go, we got through it. Now I think I'm going to try and manage the strategic advantage to minimize the counters. That was a mistake. That was me not noticing the taunt went up and pulled away. So it's going to slow me down a little bit. I remember doing that. I was not happy about that. We'll have our next mark in a moment. Pass over to Jolie to make sure we don't lose him. Now we're back on track. I did that hit on Kylo because I didn't have strategic advantage on Revan and I didn't want a counter to hit me. Getting low on time. You can see I don't have the Zeta that stuns when I'm marked, and I don't get buff immunity when I'm marked. And I don't think it's mandatory. Like early on in an account when you're trying to build out multiple good squads quickly to take advantage of Conquest Galactic challenges. Like there's a lot of reasons the game will you get benefits from having a deep roster early. But so that's a Zeta I've held off on. But it's definitely a worthy Zeta. But you can get by without it. Now to clean it up. Yeah. Just gotta get to Annihilate. Yeah, you know, I probably did the sign thing on purpose. I don't remember for certain, but the idea here is we get a nice little stat boost from Talon. And that is going to help make this a little bit more successful. In 3v1, having the tank is not as important. At least versus a Kylo Ren. And that leaves us Mando for cleanup on Stormtrooper. Jedi, Bastila lead up against Palpatine because we can resist all those debuffs, but Vader can still land ability block. It's unresistible for Jedi. And I think I make a strategic error here. I think I should have just been focused on Palpatine. But I feel more threat from Vader, so I'm staying focused on Vader. But the problem is, there's still a decent enough amount of recovery here that we're struggling. And I think I'm being a little too distracted by the whatever Mace's thing is called. So this falls apart. And this is all my fault. I think I could have gone through this fine if I would have been focused on Pelp and not caring about the marked thing from Mace. So that's too bad. Now, how do I handle this? I want to make sure I don't compromise using Mando. Part of the idea is here, like, I'm usually fairly confident my mods are going to be better than my opponents. And Mandalorian's also not a very good defensive character. So we make quick work of it. Am I really going to do JTR? Okay. It's not crazy, but it's not without risk. I feel like this is a really fast Stormtrooper, and we're not landing any stuns. There's one. There we go. I'm getting cute. I could just finish it. Alright, now we got this Palpatine team to deal with. And I don't got good options. I might not even full clear. There's no way this is gonna work. Did this work? Oh, okay, I guess this worked. There we go. Let's do some quick fleets. And a second opponent who doesn't have 2 fleets. But I do out GP this player, so this guy is doing very well for where his roster's at. Definitely earlier on the journey of working towards his SLKR. So he's definitely climbed up to this point. There we go. Let's go for round 3. So we win round 2. Quick look back. Did a few attacks in the front territory, or 2, like 2 up against Telzine. Then down below here, just didn't have the weapons for Darth Revan. Darth Revan's one of those squads where you really have to have the counters. And not really a strong enough fleet to go up against the rebels. Opponent for this round, he's got Sith Eternal Emperor. 4.2 million GP account. And you can see the depth he has in relics. This is really an account that probably should be in a higher division. Not even that shallow. Like, he can do anything he wants. And had no trouble with my defense. So this is one we are unlikely to... Not unlikely. We're not winning this round. So we're going to go 2 and 3 for this week. And he has Sith Eternal Emperor on defense. We're not even going to spend too much time on this one. Actually, we do spend a decent amount of time on this one. But that top territory, there's almost no point. Let's jump to the big screen. I still want to do as much damage as I can. And I want to show that you don't need to be overly reliant on relics. You can still do a ton without them, and how important good mods are. Like, this Palpatine squad, from a power standpoint, is vastly superior. But when you use the right weapon for the job, you can find ways around it. Like, with the tenacity up, we don't really have to worry too much about all the attacks from Palpatine. You can tell these characters are pretty slow. With Marked, we just get all around the taunt and not have to worry about Trooper. Maul at relics is nothing. Now we can just auto and get through Trooper. Takes a little longer. Now for this CLS squad, we got my own rebels because it's not an ideal CLS squad. We still got to deal with guard, so Chewie's our priority. We're going to try and land a stun, but we don't get it. That's trouble. But if we can get through at least Chewie, we're going to be in a decent position for cleanup. And we get the minimum that we need. Although Rolo up against these lower gear characters can be pretty scary, especially when she's modded right. When she's modded right, she can do that AoE constantly. Like if you get some really high crit chance on her. when he with more Zetas. Oh, Jawas got involved. Oh yeah, Jawas. Jawas show up here. So I'm gonna stop this for a second, but we do use the Annihilate ability. I click on it, and I'm gonna not show you how long it takes for this to resolve itself, but it resolves itself. So I was able to successfully annihilate at least, and then come back into the match. It looks like, though, I did a Sidious battle off screen. With Krennic here. This is nonsense. I don't remember if this worked or not, but it's nonsense. If I had more gear on these characters in that BB-8 Zeta I've talked about all video, it wouldn't be. And part of this is like, we're not even landing stuns. If we could land stuns and control the board a little bit, different scenario. No, we're barely doing any damage. Did I win this? This is awesome. Nice work, JTR. It's really hot in here, but I can't have the air on because the mic picks it up. It's very unpleasant. Alright, so we go Bastila. I'm going to try and hit Dooku whenever I'm using an assist ability, which isn't going to be very often, and this obviously is not going to work. Tried to stun Dooku, that didn't happen. I decide to quit. Did I get through this? This is hoping that we get a sacrifice from 5s, which will allow me to use the aerial advantage on somebody. Which really I shouldn't be taunting if I want that to happen. No, but it worked. We're not going to live long enough to use it. But the idea was there. We do have C3PO and Chupio, who are good characters. I just don't have a leader to give them. So I just take a body, who happens to be Akbar. But at least this will allow us to do some attacks onto Dooku. Am I really opting for Sidious? Yeah. There's a lot of time left in this video, so I keep trying. Let me make sure I'm not wasting time. Do we even get through this? We'll wrap it up there. I'm trying out some new things. I put a smaller format video out the other day. The algorithm, even though it had a really high click-through rate, didn't really get recommended all that much. So it's very low on views. So check that out if you haven't seen it. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone, and be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.